Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the realities of a seriously massive, highly lucrative industry. Look, global trade moves literally trillions of dollars every single year, and for a lot of entrepreneurs, importing is seen as the ultimate wealth-building machine. You buy low overseas, you sell at a premium locally. The formula sounds incredibly simple, right? But as anyone who's actually navigated these international waters will tell you, the gap between the theory of importing and actually running a successful operation, it's huge. So let's jump right in and separate the fantasy from the reality.
So, the big question, is the import business really an easy path to guarantee profits? Man, it is so tempting to just say yes, especially when we are constantly bombarded with these wild success stories of businesses scaling up practically overnight. But here is the critical truth we need to face. While it's undeniably profitable, importing is absolutely packed with hidden challenges. It's not some automated cash machine you just turn on. It's a complex, multi-layered beast where one tiny misstep can completely wipe out your profit margin before your products even hit your warehouse. We really have to challenge this naive assumption that importing is easy, because honestly, going in blind is the absolute fastest way to lose your entire investment.
Okay, we all know the dream scenario, right? Smooth scaling, those high profit margins, a business that just runs like a well-oiled machine. But the stark reality for anyone who isn't prepared is, well, it's a lot darker. We're talking about unexpected costs constantly creeping up, goods getting seized right at the border, and dealing with overseas partners who just aren't reliable. Navigating global trade is kind of like walking through a minefield. The difference between a beautifully scaled operation and a seized shipment doesn't come down to luck. It is all about preparation, knowledge, and execution. So how exactly do we get from that risky side over to the profitable side? Well, we have to break down this journey phase by phase.
Let's start with Phase 1, Planning and Sourcing. This is where we tackle market hurdles and supplier trust.
Before a single item is ever even purchased, you run headfirst into the market knowledge gap. You might spot a product overseas that looks like an absolute high-margin winner, but diving in without rock-solid data on your local demand, that is a massive gamble. Remember, you aren't just buying inventory, you're buying a solution to a local problem. If you misjudge that, or if you just fail to grasp the nuances of what your specific market actually wants, you're just going to end up stockpiling dead capital. Failing to close this knowledge gap right from the start basically sets the stage for an immediate heavy loss.
But okay, let's say you do your homework. You absolutely nail the market demand. You know exactly what your customers want. Guess what? You're still not safe. Because the reality is, not every foreign supplier is reliable. You're dealing with companies that are thousands of miles away, operating under totally different legal systems and business cultures. Trusting the wrong supplier can lead to disastrous quality issues. You know the story. The sample looks amazing, but the actual shipping container is just filled with defective garbage. Or, even worse, you could face outright fraud, where the goods literally never existed. You send the wire transfer and poof, the supplier vanishes into the digital ether. It is a very real hazard of sourcing internationally. Moving right along to Phase 2, Financial and Transit Risks. Here, we face the harsh realities of currency fluctuation and shipping delays.
You know, the global economy literally never sleeps, and neither do the currency markets. You might model out this beautiful expected profit margin on paper, but Forex swings, they are the silent killers of your balance sheet. The value of your local currency compared to your supplier's local currency is shifting every single minute. If the exchange rate takes a sudden dip right between you signing the contract and making the final payment, your expected margins just shrink instantly. You could have done everything perfectly in Phase 1, but a sudden currency swing can turn a highly profitable container into a break-even or even a loss-making endeavor, just like that.
And then the goods finally get on the boat, or the plane. Phew, right? Well, that brings us to the massive ripple effect of shipping delays. International shipping delays are not just some minor inconvenience, they cause structural damage to your business. Let's say your container gets stuck at a transshipment port for 3 weeks during Q4. Suddenly, your warehouse is sitting completely empty right through the holiday rush. And honestly, what's even more critical is that it erodes precious customer trust. If you promise your distributors or retail customers that a restock was hitting the shelves by Tuesday, and it doesn't show up until next month, they're simply going to find someone else who can actually deliver on time.
Which brings us to the final hurdle, Phase 3, the red tape. This is where we have to deal with customs and documentation errors.
So, you've successfully sourced the product, you paid for it, it survived the ocean, and it finally arrives at your local port. Amazing.
But this highly bureaucratic phase is exactly where dreams often come to a grinding halt. I like to call this the fragile chain of paperwork: your invoice, the packing list, and the letter of credit. It looks so simple, but customs officials are notoriously unforgiving. Literally a single misplaced comma, an incorrect incoterm, or listing a weight in kilograms instead of pounds can bring your entire operation to a complete standstill. They play strictly by the book. If the paperwork doesn't match perfectly, that container is not moving, period.
You have to remember that every country has rigidly enforced customs laws. Complete, perfect documentation means smooth clearance. You pay your duties, the gates swing open, and your truck drives right out. But incomplete documentation, that isn't just a matter of paying a small fine. You are risking indefinite delays, crippling daily demurrage fees sitting at the port, or even having your entire shipment permanently seized by the government. All of that over a minor paperwork error?
Okay, let's talk about the solution: a reliable import partner.
Everybody, take a breath. I know we just went through a really heavy list of risks. It sounds scary, but there is a highly effective way to bypass pretty much all of them. To avoid these hurdles, the smartest move you can make is to work with an experienced, reliable import partner who handles the entire process, literally from sourcing all the way to customs clearance. Honestly, the best business decision you can make when jumping into global trade isn't stubbornly trying to do everything yourself and paying for those incredibly expensive rookie mistakes. Partnering with an expert team absorbs all that complexity so you can just focus on what you do best: selling your product and growing your brand.
And when we talk about experienced partners, institutional knowledge is everything. Take Mirza Sons Corporation, for example, established way back in 1981. You want a partner who hasn't just read a few articles about market fluctuations, but has actively traded through decades of them. Since 1981, they've navigated constantly changing customs laws, wildly volatile currencies, and massive shifts in global supply chains. Having that kind of trusted legacy and credibility in your corner is just invaluable.
They essentially build a wall around you, insulating you from the exact vulnerabilities we just mapped out today. Remember that market knowledge gap we talked about? They provide complete business guidance to make sure you are entering the right market. Worried about getting defrauded by a supplier? They handle expert product sourcing directly from verified manufacturers. They manage the seamless logistics to prevent those awful delays, and they execute effortless customs clearance to keep you totally safe from bureaucratic red tape. They basically provide an umbrella of security over your entire operation, making sure your import business stays consistently successful.
At the end of the day, success in global trade isn't about running away from the risks, because let's be real, the profits are just way too substantial to ignore. True success is entirely about who you partner with to help you navigate that minefield. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Are you going to risk your hard-earned capital trying to figure it all out alone? Or are you ready to actually secure your import journey with a partner who knows exactly the way forward? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and here's to your massive success in the global market.